Most people spend a lifetime trying to build a successful business, but very few think about what happens once you sell it. This is Dallas from Dallas. Today I'm joined by Randy Haran, an entrepreneur who has built and sold a very successful business and has recently stepped into a completely different kind of challenge. Open hearts, endless motivation. This is Dallas Podcast. Randy, I'm so excited to have you here in the studio.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to start from the beginning. Really, Texas State is kind of where you're at again, and it's a full circle moment. So tell us a little bit about Texas State the first time.
I went to school in spring of '83. Went down there in spring '83. I started college in fall of '82. And at that time, I really didn't. I was wanting to get into Texas A&M or the University of Texas of Arlington, and I just happened to put Southwest Texas State as my third choice on my SAT score, and it was the only school I got accepted to.
Hey, that's bing, ding, 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 ding. That's where you're gonna go.
So I never even went there and checked the campus out.
Really?
And I just showed up the first day of registration and registered.
Wow.
And my parents were so ready to get me out of the house and ready for me to go on my next journey. So it was a win-win for everyone.
I think that, sometimes like we have these plans, like, whether it's A&M or Texas, but, then God has a different plan, and it's, several hours away from where you live, right? Like where you were born and raised here in Dallas.
Yes.
And so you moved to San Marcos, right? That's where Texas is, Texas State. And how far is that from here?
It's about a 3.5, 4 hour drive.
Okay. So definitely farther than A&M or Texas.
Right.
So you got a little bit more distance. So you end up there, like you loved it, hate it? What was it?
Oh, no, it was great. I pledged a fraternity. And I remember, because I really didn't know anybody. I maybe knew a couple of people, but I didn't really have any close friends from high school that were there. I pledged a fraternity. I ran for pledge class president. I nominated myself. Everybody laughed at me, and I won the election.
Well, of course you did. I love that. I did not know that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that was kind of my first venture into formalizing leadership.
Were you president all 4 years, or?
No, just president of the pledge class, and then which led to me to get best pledge. And then then I got initiated. So now I'm an active. And when an active was, then I was the youngest guy to get elected to be pledge trainer. And that was my first job as an active. And then from pledge trainer, I went to secretary, and then from secretary to vice president, and vice president to president of the fraternity.
Wow.
And I was there for 4.5 years.
Wow.
And so that was kind of that would be the launch pad of that would lead to my career and ultimately to my for me being an entrepreneur.
What made you decide to even nominate yourself or even do this? I mean, what was the behind it?
I just had something pop in my head that said, you've always said you wanted to be a leader. You always said you wanted to, step in the limelight or, take that chance. And well, here's your chance. And it just hit me.
I love that. So what did you study at Texas State?
Marketing.
And so how has marketing helped you in your entrepreneurship?
Marketing is about, it's about the people and kind of being directed towards the people and marketing your service or your product, to the people. A lot of times you have to talk to people. You have to actually listen to people to understand what their wants and needs are.
Right.
And instead of telling them, which is the command and control type environment.
Right.
This is more, let me hear what you want, and let me see if I can do what you want at a good cost and a profit that you're willing to pay for.
Right. So you finish up at Texas State, and then you go where?
I went back home to Dallas, and I got a job with a company called Russ Berry, RUSS. They're a manufacturer of stuffed animals, greeting cards, coffee mugs. Primarily, they sell to gift shops, florists, pharmacies, type novelties.
And so how long were you there?
I was with them probably about a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay. And then that catapulted you to your next job?
Yes, I was in Tyler working for Russ, and I was in East Texas, and I really missed Dallas, and I, really wanted to be in Dallas. Kind of grew up in a professional sports type environment, and so I got an opportunity to go to work for a company called Albritton and Groves, and they were a manufacturer's rep in the tool industry.
Okay.
So that got me back to Dallas.
And then you did that for?
Did that for about a year.
Okay.
And during that period of time, my father approached me and asked me to come to work for his company. But it was not his company 100% anymore. He had merged with another corporation, and their goal was to build up and go public. And so he had always told me before then I would never work for him.
Oh.
And so it was kind of strange that he would ask me, but he felt he was very encouraged by his new partners to hire family. And so that's how I got hired. And that would be day one. On December 20th, 1988 would be day one of my aviation career.
Wow. Okay, so you realize at Texas State that you have this desire to be the leader that you knew you always had in you, and you step up, you become the leader, and then that kind of catapults you into, okay, I'm going to go figure out what I want to do. I don't know exactly what I want to do. I got this marketing degree, but now I'm taking a new step in 1988 to becoming now in business with my dad, which I never thought I would be able to do that because he told me he would never hire me. But you're here at, it's called HAC, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're at HAC and you're day one. How does it start out? Like, how is it good?
Yeah, no, and he told me I had to wear a tie every day.
Okay.
Had to dress up professionally, and nobody else was doing it.
He was,
including him. But he said, ooh, I wasn't expecting this.
yes. Yeah. He was a man of few words. He didn't say a whole lot.
Yeah, no, and he didn't. And so he hires me and says, you're going to wear a shirt, tie, and slacks every day.
Okay. So he tells you you're going to do that, and you like are looking out, and you're like, okay, nobody else is doing it. No one else is doing it.
But it did pick up because I did it, other people started investing in better clothing and dressing up. And before you knew it, a lot of people started doing it.
I think there's a saying out there. It says, dress for the job that you want, not the one you have. Ooh. So, maybe that is what happened here was, your dad saw in you something that, he wanted to prepare you for.
Correct.
And so, so that's a beautiful story of, your dad and how he set the tone for you from day one and what you were going to do in your life. Mm-hmm. And even though you may not have realized it at that moment, he may not have realized it at that moment, but that was something that definitely carried on with you.
Sure. So,
okay, so you dress for the success, you dress for the job that you want, and you're in every day, you're working, 9 to 5 or probably longer. Longer. Yeah, 9 to 5 was, or 8 to 5 was not like his way of doing it, right? No. Like he worked all the time.
Yes. Happily about it.
Happily, yes. I remember Uncle John definitely liked to work all the time. So he expected that from you.
Oh, yeah.
And so, okay, so what was your role in the beginning?
I was contract administrator. So I was over administering the government contracts. He was the defense contractor for the military.
Wow. I didn't even know that. Okay. So you did that role, and what did you learn from that role?
Just the importance of documentation, reading the contract, executing the contract, sticking to the rules of the contract. Also, there's delivery dates and expectations that the government had for us. And he would also make me he called it kind of pricing out a bill of materials, and kind of going through the bill of materials and understanding what who the suppliers were, who made what was the lead time, what did it cost,
right,
when was it going to arrive, and then ultimately there would be a production type, producing the product, and the time that goes through that. So it was really teaching me how to work with a scheduler and the scheduling of the work for the work to be done.
Yeah. And did you meet with those suppliers? Was that part of your role? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you had to build relationships, rapport.
Yeah.
You had to, create a schedule of, I'm sure this wasn't like a one-time conversation. It was a multiple, building that rapport and relationship. Right. So how long did you work there before you took on a new role within the company?
Probably 2 to 3 years into that role, they put me into sales for the repair and overhaul business with commercial airlines. Mm-hmm. So I started selling, and I took on the Canadian Airlines. So the first airline I dealt with was Air Canada and Nations Air.
Okay.
And then ultimately Canadian International Airlines as well. And so I didn't call anybody on the United States, just up in Canada. And then I also was dealing with Bell Helicopter Canada. So that was kind of my first outside sales in the aviation industry job.
So you traveled quite a bit.
Yeah.
And you met a lot of people. You were constantly out,
And I was successful at it.
Oh, yeah.
So then they started giving me other accounts in the United States and in Mexico and El Salvador and Colombia and other areas. So I was able to start building up my customer base.
Yeah. And those relationships and learning like really good, lessons in how to communicate with people and how to, be a good listener. I think anybody that's good in sales, generally speaking, they know how to listen and, hear what the customer wants and be able to provide those needs and also uncover needs that maybe the customer doesn't even know. So you were in that role for how many years before you took on the next role?
I pretty much stayed in that role for my whole career working for my father. Okay. So December of '88, and I was there until July 1st of 1996.
Okay, so almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so you leave working with...
What had happened was the company my dad had initially merged with, a company called Pollux, and they were out of Jessup, Maryland. So that merger had gone, and unfortunately, just the cultures never matched, and we did a good job of creating competitors that the people that originally worked for my father, but the culture would run those people off, and they'd end up starting a competing business. And before you knew it, we were creating franchises that weren't paying us a royalty. And so ultimately, the Pollux company got sold, and the father-son team stayed on the HAC part, and which would ultimately lead to a company called CADE, C-A-D-E, would buy HAC Corporation, which is a public company. This would allow my dad a vehicle because he went from a private merger now to a public merger where he has the opportunity to, have an exit. Yeah. So it was a saving grace for him.
Yeah.
And so CADE buys HAC, and after that, when CADE kind of came in, they got rid of the father-son team from Maryland and kept my father, but they looked at me as as an owner's son, and I needed to learn business, and they were going to teach me and all this stuff. So they had this idea that I was going to move to Michigan, Lansing, Michigan, and work for one of their subsidiaries called Auto Air Composites. And so I don't know, I just kind of felt like I really had the bug of wanting to be an entrepreneur. And but I was still unclear and really didn't know what it all kind of meant.
Yeah.
I kind of flirted with it with my brother-in-law. He at that time was dating my sister. His name's Seth Hall. And we'd kind of come up with a concept of doing exchanges and working from that perspective. And I wasn't still in the right mindset. So I went to work for Douglas Aircraft Company, which was McDonnell Douglas, in March of 1997. And fortunately for my brother-in-law, Seth Hall, he continued his dream and ultimately found the company called Source One Spares, which to this day is still around.
Okay. So your concept that you two created,
right?
He went ahead and
to his credit, he went and believed in it, and it's still around.
So your belief there at that moment in your life was you didn't have that belief yet. And so, God was still working on you and helping prepare you for what is going to happen, which will continue to go down. But so your brother-in-law takes this opportunity, goes and does this, creates this business, and you are working for someone, and you're now, where are you located?
I'm in California.
Okay.
So I'm working in Long Beach, California. Went to, like I said, went to work March of '97. And then August of '97, McDonnell Douglas merges with Boeing.
Okay.
And so they become Boeing.
Wow, that's a big company.
And so Boeing is given opportunities for people at McDonnell Douglas to move to Seattle. So finally I took that opportunity in May of '98 to move to Seattle.
Okay.
And work at Boeing. And I knew I wasn't going to be at Boeing forever. Because I wanted to get back to Texas, and I still had a dream of being an entrepreneur. I wanted to be like my father and my mom and dad both, and from an entrepreneurial standpoint. And so I wanted to get as much information and learn as much as I could from Boeing. So I wanted to be in the middle of it, and that was Seattle.
Yeah.
So I come up there in May of '98, and really got a lot of exposure, made a lot of contacts with airlines in the United States, Europe, continued in Latin America, Asia. And, when anytime you work for a big corporation that's successful, they have the best, the best systems, the best processes, best procedures, and you just learn a lot from how they handle things and they do things.
Right.
And so it was I called it getting my master's in business. And so I just kind of always sucked in that information because I knew one day that I wanted to own my own business. So this was not wasted time. It was time to, build my knowledge base. Yeah,
I love that. I think that is such an important piece in, taking as much information in as possible. I think you learn a lot of the things, probably even through Boeing, that being such a big company. It's not like Boeing was built overnight. No business is. And so you learn so much as far as their, the procedures and the things behind the scenes that you needed to learn from that perspective so that you could take that information and in one day use it to help you create the business that you ended up creating. Okay, so you do that for 10 years. You learn a lot of information. You've got now not only the relationships, but you've got this experience. And so now where are you at in life?
I guess in 1999, I'd reached out to my aerospace mentor. His name is Mike Burkett. Mike was always, I would probably talk to Mike, once every 2 or 3 months. And he was living in California. And he was just, someone that I would, he was an entrepreneur, so we would always talk. And he was always planting seeds in my head. You could go be a rep. You could have your own rep company. And he goes, we would pay you. And so he was always putting the bug in my head, in my mind. And so then, just out of that conversation, then he introduced me to a guy named Tom Kane. And Tom lived in Orange County, California. And Tom offered to write the business plan for me because I wanted to get back to Texas, and the business that I wanted to start was an FAA repair facility.
Okay, what's that?
It's kind of like a car body shop for airplanes.
Okay.
The plane doesn't come to us, but the components do.
Yeah.
The parts do. For like commercial and regional airlines. So working with Tom, and then ultimately my brother would come and work with us as well, putting the components together to put the business plan together.
Right.
And fortunately, when I had worked with my brother-in-law, Seth Hall, he was very good at putting a business plan together and putting forecasted numbers and supporting the numbers. So fortunately, I'd gotten a lot of good knowledge from my brother-in-law, Seth. And so working with Tom, we were able to put the business plan together. We went and got a family friend in the industry to put the initial seed money in.
Okay.
And which was $150,000.
Wow.
And then my father started seeing that this really had legs, and so he loaned my brother and I $70,000.
Okay.
35 each, and then so we I guess launched the business August 15th of 2000.
Wow.
And
wow.
And then my dad had a great idea. He said, since you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to learn how to be an entrepreneur, and you're not going to get a salary. And you're going to live with your mom and I.
Okay.
So I'm 36 years old, and I have to move in with my parents.
That was the deal?
That was the deal.
Really? So he said, I'm going to pay you $35,000 and your brother $35,000, but you're going to have to move in with.
Yeah, he loaned us 70s that went into the business.
Right. But it was 35 for you, 35 for Michael, and you had to move in with him, and you're not going to take his salary.
Right. And part of the deal was Michael was married and he had young children.
Yeah.
And so he needed to have a salary. So that was kind of the deal that at that time I would take the bullet, and Michael came in with a lower salary than he had that from the job that he was working for my father's company at that time.
Yeah.
And so that was the and then during that 2-year period I lived off 8 credit cards.
Okay.
I'd get a new credit card, pay the minimum down on the other credit cards, and use that credit card, to have some type of social life.
Wow. Because you weren't making any money.
I wasn't getting anything.
So how did you even pay those? You just became money that you had left over from
the credit card.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that was a definite learning experience. I mean, like A, moving in with your parents, B, having credit cards and trying to divvy out the credit card debt so that you can, have some type of social life. How long did you live there?
3 years.
So that was the deal, 3 years.
Yeah, finally the company started cash flowing, and then ultimately I did get a salary, and I was ready to move out. So I guess it was like when I was 39, I got an apartment in Dallas.
Okay. And so now you're starting to make money, and you're seeing that this has got legs. Like this is gonna.
Yeah. No, we took off. Had some struggles that first year, but after that first year, we ended up at $1.5 million sales.
First year.
And
that's in 2000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And we started finally making money right before 9/11.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And our customers were airlines.
Yeah.
And so...
this is right before 2001 that you launched. So definitely there's a huge opportunity for planes. Like that's being thought of and talked about.
So then, so at the end of 2001, we're at 1.5 million, and then 2002 we get to 3 million. 2003 we get to 6 million. 2004 we're at 10.5 million.
Wow.
I mean, we're rocking and rolling.
You're rocking. And how many people did you employ for this?
We probably were, we were probably around 50 or 60 people at this time.
Wow. And what was it? TAC? Is that what you ended up settling on as far as your name?
Yeah,
right?
Texas Air Composites.
Composites, yes, TAC. I liked your logo, the red, white, and blue.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah. So okay, so at 2000, what did you say was 10.5?
2004, at the end of 2004.
Okay, and then when did you sell it? What year?
December of 2014.
So you had another 10 years. Wow. Okay, so 10 years later, you are now, what made you decide to sell it?
We had opportunities. People would always come around and knock on the door and that. And then we had one company called Spirit Aero Systems, which was a spin-off from Boeing, really look at us. And we kind of went through the process with them. Fortunately, we didn't sell to them. They kind of pulled out the last minute. And just had another company called Aviation Technical Services that was really hot for us. And we had reached our financial goal was to get EBITDA around close to $5 million a year. So we kind of accomplishment, and it was time, and enjoyed the culture and the camaraderie that we always had. But it was a opportunity, and we took advantage of it.
Wow. Okay, so 2014, you sell your company, and then what happens from there? Because what did you have to work for the company or?
Yes, our brother and I both had to sign a 2-year agreement.
Okay.
And since they pretty much bought 100% of the company, and there was really no earn-out or anything like that, so the company who bought it pretty much took over 100% of the company. So after a few months, they you really didn't ask too much of me and didn't invite me to anything, which I was fine with.
Yeah.
And so after about a year, they bought me out of my second year, and so then I walked out.
So you sell in 2014, and you now have these 2 years that you are going to work for with them. But in most sales, like that are the size of the sale that you had, because your company was a large company, is there usually like red tape around, like what the next steps are for someone that's going to sell their business?
There's a due diligence process, and they're going to go through your records, your financials, your employee handbook, your documentation, how you handle all your processes and procedures. Do you actually follow it? Your quality manual. So they're going to go and pick it upside down and go everywhere to find out if there's any problems.
From the moment they pursued you to the moment that you sold, how long was that process?
For the second time they approached us was probably April of 2014. And we probably had our first meeting with the CEO in May of 2014, and we closed on December 2nd, 2014, which is that's not the usual.
Okay.
Usually it lasts about anywhere between 12 to 18 months. But they were hot to trot, and we had already pretty much had all of our information organized and in the right places because of the process we went through with Spirit Aero Systems. So we were ready. We had everything, when they said, I want to see this. Here it is.
Yeah.
I want to see this. Here it is.
Yeah.
And so we weren't scrambling around trying to find stuff.
Right. So you sell the business, and what was that moment like for you? Were you like, heck yeah, I'm going to travel the world? Or, I know you're a traveler anyway, but what was like your first thought? Like,
it was just, here we started out on 1929 Normandy, and watching my parents start their company, and some of the challenges that they had, that the journey that they had started had gone over to my brother and I, and now we had crossed the finish line.
A great feeling.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was amazing. I wish my father was there and he could have seen it. Unfortunately, he had already passed, but my mom got to experience it, and she was there when I signed my closing docs, and all that kind of stuff. So
proud mom moment for her, for sure. Mm-hmm. And your dad definitely from heaven was giving you a thumbs up.
Right.
You know. So I know that you from that moment, and you know, obviously getting to close that chapter, but what happens after that? Like, I mean, you don't have a place that you go to work. You worked so many hours. You did it for so many years. Where do you go from here?
Fortunately, my brother-in-law he had located a warehouse near where Texas Air Composites was, and fortunately, he had asked me if I wanted an office. He had room, space, and he would not charge me rent. Oh. So it was like Christmas time. Yeah. And I had helped him out with some things, and of course he helped us out very much at the beginning of our business as well. And so I was, fortunately I was able to land on my feet.
Yeah.
And have a place.
Okay, so you start working, and what's the next chapter for you?
Well, I at Texas Air Composites, we practice open book management, a methodology coming from the great game of business. And I can honestly say it was one of the main instruments that led to our success. It just unites your workforce. It educates your workforce. Everyone has a common denominator on act and feel and think like an owner. Yeah. So they wanted me to get into coaching. I thought I wanted to get into coaching. I found out I wasn't very good at selling myself. I was better. Unfortunately, I was better volunteer of information. And so I did that, and I've made some investments in some businesses. Some of them worked out, some of them haven't. And so that's kind of what I was doing. I kind of, unfortunately, during that period of time, I had I traveled a lot, had a lot of fun, but I got away from my purpose, and I didn't realize that until years later. Right.
So I know that your dad was really big on pennies, and you started something, and I don't know exactly what you did with it, but you did something called Penny Strategies.
That is correct.
And what was that?
It's still around. It's kind of my consulting business. That was the arm. I was going to do my great game of business coaching.
Okay.
So it's still, I did some fractional executive work, fractional CEO work for a company. So anytime that I get paid for consulting, that's the company that would be where the revenue would go through.
So what was your dad so big on pennies?
Well, we had after my spring '83 semester in college, I was home for the summer, and really feeling higher than a kite. Finished pledgeship, leading candidates be best pledge. Kind of going through that time of your life where you knew everything, and your parents weren't very smart. And so he and I went to Wendy's to get dinner for the family. And for some reason I was driving, and he was in the passenger side, which was rare.
Yeah.
And so we went up there, went through the drive-through, and it was $19.96. And he gave me a 20, so I gave the lady a 20, and she gives me 4 pennies. So I grabbed the 4 pennies, and I threw them down on the ground because I was too good for pennies. And we pull off, and he goes, "Pull over." And so I took this car and pulled over in the parking lot. He gets out of his Suburban, walks back to the drive-thru, waits for a car to go by, picks up all 4 pennies. He's walking back to the Suburban, and I can tell he is not a very happy person.
Nope. Not at all. First of all, he had to get out and go pick
Yeah.
up those pennies. Was not happy.
And so he gets in the car and he goes, I don't know what, in the blank you're thinking or who you are, but you are never, ever too good for a penny. He goes, I don't care how wealthy I am. I will never, ever be too good for a penny.
Wow.
And and we were probably about 5 minutes from home, but it seemed like an hour to get home because he was just on me and just.
It made a lasting impression on you.
Oh,
though.
big time. I mean, I can't, anytime I see a penny, nickel, dime, quarter, dollar bill on the ground, I don't care where it is, I'm getting it.
Yeah.
And I don't go spend them. They have a place I put them in at my house. So I keep all them,
Wow.
in a special place.
Yeah. That's such a cool story. Okay, so you've obviously gone in and out of different businesses, and some of, like you said, some of them have worked, some of them not. But you wanted to get back to your purpose and your overall purpose in life. When did you realize that that you weren't fulfilling that purpose?
Well, I just kind of, I just kind of be around and you're investing in various businesses. So you're meeting and talking to various entrepreneurs. And I'm also joined an entrepreneur organization in 2004. And that organization I'm still in that organization. It's very instrumental in my success as well as the Great Game of Business and the entrepreneur organization. So, as you meet and talk to other people, and the purpose found me. I didn't know things that I was doing was going to lead up to where I am today. In the EO, you get into what's called a form group, and with your peers, and it's a confidential group, no solicitation, no advice giving. You can only speak from experience.
Okay.
So I moderated the form group, which your peers would have to elect you, do it. And I did that I was in a form group probably from 13 or 14 years.
Wow.
Out of those 13 and 14, probably 10 of those years I was a moderator. And,
Which is another leadership role.
Yeah, which is, with peers that own businesses.
Yeah.
And so from there, then I had a mentor in 2010 or 2011, and he was such a strong mentor, really. And I was going through a hard time at my company. And so from that experience, I'd also, back in 2006, had met another guy through the entrepreneur organization who came on and joined me as my consultant and advisor from 2006 until I sold the company. So those two relationships kind of really very beneficial and helpful for me.
Yeah.
To my success. And so the entrepreneur organization goes, we want you to be a mentor. So after I sold my company, that I started mentoring members,
Okay.
my peers, which is a heck of an honor.
Yeah.
Because there's no, we're all peers. We're all
Right.
at the same level.
Right.
So I started mentoring, and that is also involved with a nonprofit called Nifty, Networking for Teaching Entrepreneurship, which works with kids from 8th grade till they're senior in high school at economically challenged school districts.
Okay.
And so I did some mentoring there, and then I got involved in the Entrepreneur Organizations Accelerator Program, which is kind of like a program that we help businesses that are below the threshold to join the entrepreneur organization, and we're basically trying to get them to the threshold so they can become members.
Okay.
So that would be kind of like our pipeline.
Okay.
So I became accountability chair for those groups, and I've done that for about 8 years.
Wow.
So I just kind of started noticing, and I always had people that requested me and wanted to be in my group, wanted me to be their mentor, So I just kind of started noticing this what was going on.
Right.
And I was really helping people get to that threshold of $1 million in revenue a year to become an entrepreneur organization member. So that's just kind of naturally, I just kind of said, how can I professionalize this? And then that's kind of where I came up with the Open Penny Founders Table that I've kicked off at Texas State starting in January of 2026.
Wow. So before you launched this entrepreneurship, you had, a moment in your life where you had a challenge, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And what was that, being diagnosed with cancer, what was that moment for you?
My first time diagnosed with cancer was in August of 2007.
Really?
Was it August? Yeah. Oh, yeah. My father passed away in August of 2007. So I got diagnosed in September of 2007.
I did not know that.
And so I had prostate cancer, and I got my prostate removed in January of 2008. But prostate cancer is pretty easy to cure if you catch it at the right time. So I was fortunate. Didn't have to go through radiation or anything like that. They just removed my prostate. And so went on after that. And then I was, what was it, 2023? Yeah, it was July of 2023. And I hadn't, my dad died of pulmonary fibrosis.
Okay.
So I like getting my lungs looked at. And I hadn't done it in a few years also because of COVID. So I just went in for an x-ray just to get my lungs looked at. And they called me back and they said, hey, we need you to come in for an appointment. And I said, I was already planning on it. My appointment is in December. And they said, no, we need you here in September. And this is July. And I said, okay. And then they call me back a couple hours later and say, we need you here this week.
Oh, wow. That's like being not December, not September, but now we need you next week.
And so I said, well, I appreciate them being aggressive, but they're aggressive because we've got a problem.
Oh, okay.
So, so I go in and they say we see something in your lungs and we want to do a biopsy. So they do a biopsy, and sure enough, I've got cancer in my left lung and in my lymph node. And so then they say, we think it came from your kidney, so we're going to, do an MRI and all different types of CAT scans. And so what was happening was it was coming from my kidney, my left kidney. And so I then went into what's called immunotherapy, and it's basically you go in once a month, and they pump fluids in to pump up your immune system to naturally go fight the cancer.
So no removal?
One more time?
No, nothing was removed.
Until I had surgery, I had 30% of my left kidney was removed.
Okay. So first of all, I mean, to hear the diagnosis, obviously I went through breast cancer. To hear the diagnosis, having cancer, that's just hard. And obviously I didn't even know that you had gone through prostate. So you'd already heard that word before. So the second time you're like, okay, and it's now like, you want to make sure that it's not in your lung, and now they're bringing you in early. And so, was that news really, really hard for you, or because you'd already kind of walked through it before, was it a little easier for you?
Yeah, I don't, when you first hear it, you kind of take a step back and go, oh, so I've got, my priorities just changed.
Yep. Okay.
And not my faith, but my priorities and my health, and, going from being a go-getter to say, hey, I got to, they're going to have requirements, you're going to have to do things, you're going to have to be there. And, which is all, if that's the worst it gets, I'm all in.
Yeah.
And so, but I felt like the man above is going to guide me, and he's going to be there, and he's still got a plan for me. So So I just, I just had an attitude,
Yeah.
and just, there's nothing you can do.
No.
You just have to go with it and let it all work out.
Hey, I love that attitude. That's exactly right. It's the scripture that I love is, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future. And you knew that God was going to guide your steps, and obviously he did. But you obviously having this business mindset and an entrepreneur and always being kind of a leader, the traditional route of cancer is removal and then chemotherapy and radiation. How in the world what is immunotherapy? It's not really talked about. And how did you get into that? And what made you say yes to that versus the traditional route?
Well, it's a study they're doing at from Duke University.
Okay.
And UT Southwestern's, the cancer doctor that I had there, she's kind of the, I'd say, worldwide specialist. And they're the ones that proposed it.
Really?
Yeah. And they said, hey, we got this study. This is what we'd like to do. And what do you think? And I said, sure. And so we did a 4-month test run. And they saw that my tumors were reducing. And they go,
Wow.
we want to do another 12 months. And I said, okay. And it's pretty much was all gone. The surgery that I had was more about just making sure that there was nothing hidden. Mm-hmm. But so yeah, no, I kept my hair. I pretty much had a normal life. I could pretty much eat what I wanted to. I could still have a beer or a glass of wine if I wanted to. And moderation's the key word, as they always say. So it was, you see a bunch of other people there at UT Southwestern and what they're going through. I had it very easy compared to what they're going through.
But you had it in 2 different spots.
3.
3 spots. So you had it in your lung, your kidney.
And a lymph node.
And a lymph node. Okay. So, and you just did immunotherapy, which was an infusion, right?
Right.
You would go once.
First 4 months, once every 3 weeks. Next 12 months, once a month. And I was there usually about an hour and a half.
Wow. I went through chemotherapy. I went through radiation, and it destroys your cells, good and bad. And, I do believe that there, like for me, and the way I have viewed it is just, thankfully I only had to do 4 treatments of chemo. And so I was on board with that. I don't know that if I would have had to do more, I don't know that I would have been okay with that. But, to think that, when you hear that word cancer and then you have, that the options are chemotherapy, radiation, and that's all you're really presented. And there's a lot of people out there that are now saying, it's all about your immune system, which I agree. It is, building up that immune system, strengthening your immune system. And then you're presented with something that literally isn't being talked about. Not very many people know about this. So, and you're still doing great. Mm-hmm. And
I get scanned every 3 months just to make sure it hasn't come back or anything like that from that perspective.
Wow. What a blessing that is for you. And I know that people are definitely going to want to know more about how in the world, it's a study. They're obviously studying it. What's in this immunotherapy? Is there do you know what's in it?
I can tell you, I don't, not off the top of my head, but it's I think it's just kind of a liquid chemo type mixture.
Okay. But
it's got there's maybe 2 or 3 products.
Okay. But does it make you feel sick? It doesn't?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Mm. I would always go eat Tex-Mex afterwards.
Wow.
To go celebrate.
Heck yeah.
Because I'm superstitious. So I always...
Oh, you are a Mexican food guy, so let's be real here.
That's right. So I always went and ate Tex-Mex.
Oh my goodness. And
I'd always wear my Batman t-shirt.
You're Batman.
Yeah.
Superhero,
yeah.
Yeah, you are. Do you think that if they had presented chemo and radiation and immunotherapy, if they had given you all three? Like they didn't even present chemo and radiation to you, did they?
No, I did meet with the radiation doctor, and she just kind of told me what the process would be and how they would do it and that kind of stuff. But the Dr. Zhang, she pretty much got front and center and took over.
And she is where?
She's at UT Southwestern.
UT Southwestern. Dr. what?
Zhang.
Can you spell it? Juong, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I think that is such an amazing thing that you, and how did you find her?
She found me.
She found you.
I was there, and you're talking to all different types of disciplines, and in the medical field, medical doctors, from a lung doctor to a radiation specialist to a urologist. He's over the kidney. So then you got a cancer specialist, and she's the cancer specialist.
Wow.
And I don't know if the study is specifically for the kidney cancer, and maybe that's it. Maybe that's how I was able to get it from that perspective. I don't know if it's cancer as a whole or it's just on a certain
parts of your body.
But I would think organs of your body.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking here, like realistically, like I would think all parts of your body would respond similarly.
Yeah.
If you're thinking, realistically, I'm not a doctor, but you would think that all of your body would, internal organs would kind of respond the same, but maybe the filtration, who knows? But anyway, it's phenomenal. And definitely, I think that's the route that I hope that they start moving towards because,
I know.
Well, that's awesome. So going back to, obviously you had this happen. In what year was that for you?
Diagnosed in July of 2023. Started my treatment October 1st. Ended my treatment in December 31st, 2024. Surgery was March 1st, 2025.
Wow. Okay, so a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so from going through all of that, and now you are healthy, you're doing great, you now are starting this entrepreneur class at Texas State, and tell us about that. How'd you get into that?
It's accountability and mentoring groups. So when I was meeting with the CIE director, Quinn Valentine at Texas State, I was there telling her, I like to mentor. I've got a lot of mentoring experience, love to mentor any entrepreneurs, if you have any. And she says, tell me again about this EO Accelerator accountability group that you chair. And so I kept telling her about it. She said, you think you could do something similar for colleges here? And I said, I'm sure I can. I can't, I can't bring EO type tools, but I've got enough experiences, and I can work off my own experiences, and so that's kind of how we started it. And I started it, and first sessions were in February, and I got two groups of 10.
Wow.
And
how often do you have to go there? Because you still live here in Dallas. So.
Yeah, I did it was twice a month. Twice a month, every 2 weeks.
Wow. Okay, so without saying names, what's that like? Do you have kids in your class that like you're like, man, I can see this kid is gonna.
Yeah. At first, you always have your stars that kind of start out, and but yeah, no, there's a mixture of all different types of businesses. Men, women, all ethnic groups. Then I've seen some of recently with the light finally went off in their head, and I've seen their game step up. Wow.
What do you think is the key? I mean, if you were to like say, I mean, when I'm listening to your story, and you're my cousin, so I've been around you my whole life, but listening to your story and like, from college days, leadership was a huge component for you, and being the leader in a company. And then, you weren't quite ready with the belief in maybe yourself or in your idea. So you kind of had to take a little bit longer to get to where you wanted to be, work a little bit longer. But you always knew that you wanted to be an entrepreneur because the influence of your father. So what do you think what is the key? If you were to name one thing for someone that's listening, like, what would be the key for them?
From an entrepreneurial standpoint? Usually, and I'd say highly, very high statistically, the entrepreneur always wants to make a change, wants to change something. He or she thinks they can do something better than what is being offered. And there's no limit on what that is.
Right. It's the why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it?
Yeah. I can do it better, cheaper, healthier.
Right.
More fulfilling for the customer.
Right.
And so that's kind of, and another thing, failure is a part of the journey.
Yes.
That's how we learn. Being uncomfortable and making a mistake and failing is when you actually learn.
Right.
I wish we would all learn when it was comfortable, but sometimes there's no reason to, because it's going the way you want it, and kind of how you approach it.
Well, it's the growth opportunities, right? Like, I think when you fail forward. You learn in the failure. You learn so many wonderful things that aren't fun at the time, but at least they're things that you can change. You're like, okay, I know next time I'm going to do it this way a little bit different.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so failing forward, it's important. And I think athletes, you were athletic, you played sports all growing up. I think athletes understand that to a whole nother level, because they're used to, not, winning every game, not winning every relationship. There's a lot of failure in your childhood, and all the way through if you play sports. So I think there's a great parallel, and the work ethic too,
Yeah.
So work ethic is probably a huge key. Like, you can't give up.
No.
You got to keep pushing.
Right. And, it's your belief system, and believing, in your faith and yourself. Because a lot of times, most people don't believe in you until you're already successful, when there's no risk on their part to say out loud that you're successful.
Right. Right. And belief is a big thing. I learned that myself in the business that I ran before starting this, and my new skincare business I'm getting ready to launch. But the belief is so important, and so many people don't have that. They don't believe in themselves. They and it's probably a fear of failure, or not good enough, or whatever the case may be. But that belief has to be there, because if you don't believe in yourself, how are you going to expect anyone else to?
Right.
Randy, it's been so fun having you here today and hearing your story, even more about you that I didn't know. But I've always admired you. I've always looked to you, and you're such a great mentor to me, and have been throughout so many different decisions in my life. And I'm super thankful that you're getting to share this. And I know people are going to take a lot of your tips and use them. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dallas. This has been very nice. I appreciate you inviting me to on this show, and I look forward to many other opportunities.